Welcome to the first ever session for Music Licensing Manager. I've been through, various guises at Universal and Sony Publishing, Rock Nation, Ministry of Sound, and now at Warner Chappell, where I've been there for almost 10 years now. Getting into the other core right, masters, that is the actual sound recording. So the version you hear when you press play or listen to Spotify, that right is owned by the performing artist and the record label. So if you go back to that house analogy, I apologize. If the composition is the design, then the master is just one physical house that's been built from it. Another artist can take that same design, they can build their own version, but each house is essentially distinct. So going back to Valerie, Amy Winehouse recorded a version of Valerie, which is arguably more famous than the Zootons version. But that specific recording is a separate master and controlled by her record label. So there are multiple different sort of examples of this, like All Along the Watchtower by Bob Dylan. He wrote and recorded that song, but then Jimi Hendrix did his own version, which again is maybe more famous. But you have another one, which is Hallelujah. That was written and recorded by Leonard Cohen, but then was maybe made a bit more famous by Jeff Buckley, and then of course Alexandra Burke. So this is hopefully a bit of a step-by-step. So this is essentially an area where as a music licensing manager, you'll probably be spending a lot of time doing, which is researching who actually owns what. So at first glance, it's probably might sound a little bit simple, but finding the owner, get permission, move on, that is the idea. But in reality, it can sometimes not be as neatly clean cut as that. Certain things can be incomplete, credits can be wrong. And sometimes people you contact don't even know that they control certain rights. So it can sometimes feel like you're falling down a rabbit hole. But this is why understanding how to research rights ownership efficiently and accurately is one of the most valuable skills that you could probably develop. This is essentially advertising considerations. So budget is often one of the biggest deciding factors. Some campaigns pay exceptionally well. Big numbers are not unheard of, but every track still has to fit within what's been allocated for music. I remember when we talk about a sync deal, there are actually two sides of the same coin. The master rights, which are usually controlled by the label or the artist if they're independent, and the publishing rights, which are handled by the publisher or the songwriter. Now, if one side is priced too high and are refusing to budge on that, then the deal can fall apart. And that's why sometimes you will see brands that will commission a cover or pivot to potentially lesser known songs or independent artists, because they're still trying to capture the same vibe, the same emotional hit, but without blowing through their entire music budget. Originally written by George Michael and reimagined by Dua Lipa. And why was this such a powerful and effective sync? So first off, perfect brand song alignment. Yves Saint Laurent is built on confidence, sensuality, self-expression. Freedom 90 is literally an anthem about autonomy and identity. So messaging of the song is essentially speaking that language. Then we had the creative execution. Rather than just using George's master, they commissioned a new version from Dua Lipa, who embodies that sort of maybe the modern, youthful glamour and empowerment. And that choice instantly connects to or bridges those two audiences. So legacy fans of George who see the timeless quality of the song, and then the global audience who already connect with Dua Lipa. And that then leads sort of that new demographic into George's world. And they start to understand about who George was, what songs he's written, and realize it's not just this one. He's got a whole catalogue of absolute bangers. Then commercially, it's a massive, great big global campaign with a huge fee attached. So, that has impact. It has financial success. And it also then ensures that the song reaches millions worldwide. And then the rework, I guess this is subjective, but it's a fresh contemporary production. So it's modern enough for the TikTokers and the YouTubers of this world to sort of connect with it, but it's still fairly faithful to the original. And that is a fairly difficult balance to achieve. But this ticks, certainly on the George Michael side, this ticks all of their boxes. It's a great brand. It is a global artist who is doing the cover. It is a demographic that they want to engage with, and they are paying for it. So it's every single box is ticked, which makes this a very successful placement in a nutshell. So if you imagine, for example, if you get a call from an ad agency or a film music supervisor on a Friday afternoon, they've got something that needs to lock and launch on the Monday. And the track that they plan to use has fallen through, and they're desperate to find a replacement, something that's upbeat or female vocal, or it just needs to be able to clear in the time to land on the Monday. So if your catalog lives in 5 different folders and half your metadata is in somebody else's inbox and your split sheets are sitting on an old hard drive somewhere, then you are going to lose hours and hours and hours trying to figure all that stuff out. Like, who wrote this song? Who owns that master? What percentage do we actually control? And can we even clear this in time? So by the time you've answered those questions, then the opportunity's already gone to somebody else. But if you have invested in a somewhat centralized and well-maintained system, then you can pull that data up instantly. You can filter by BPM or mood or genre or vocal style. You can see the writer and publishing splits at an easy glance. And you'll know whether it is a one-stop shop, as in like you can do everything, the publishing and the master side, or if there is, multiple people that need to be in touch with, but you have all of that information there ready to go. So that means instead of continuously firefighting, you're already pitching. You're pitching confidently, accurately, and fast. And in sync, their speed will quite often win deals, because the faster that you can respond with the right song, the more you'll be often the one who is landing those placements. Now, negotiation tactics. So this is really where your interpersonal skills can come into play. Like, once you've gathered all those key details, you can start forming your quote. But before you send anything, just think about who you're negotiating with. Like, if you know your client or supervisor tends to drive a hard bargain, it makes sense to start higher so you have room to move. So let's say you believe £10,000 is the fair number. You might want to quote 15 or 20 in the knowledge that you're going to be hammered down to the £10,000 mark. On the other hand, some clients will treat that first quote as gospel. And if your first number is far too high, they'll just walk away and you won't even hear that they wanted to negotiate. So in those cases, it's best to go in at a realistic but fair figure. It's just reading the room, like knowing how that client operates. Some want the game and others just want a straight answer. And just don't underestimate the power of tone. The way you frame a number matters. Like saying we'd be looking for around £15,000 based on this scope, it feels much more approachable than the fee is £15,000, take it or leave it. It leaves space for dialogue. So, and then another factor to this is, while it comes to me, is silence can be powerful, but in a positive way. Like, once you've given your number, just pause. Just don't rush to fill that gap. Let them process and sit with it for a bit. Because sometimes that silence gives the client room to consider without undermining your position. You don't want to sort of send your number and then within an hour or the following morning go, did you get my number? Was it too high? Do you want me to come down on it? You want to just give them a minute just to sit with it. But thank you, everybody. And hopefully you enjoyed the class. And I will see you guys on Thursday. Same time, same place.